Welcome to The Amy Gregory Show, the show where real estate gets a reality check and success doesn't require burnout. I'm Amy, your straight shooting, pep talk in your pocket host who took the real estate world by storm with zero cold calls, no door knocking, and a firm no thanks to working 50-hour weeks. 8 years ago, I jumped into real estate with both feet, 3 kids, and a baby on the way. In my rookie year, I broke every rule in the book, earning 6 figures working just 10 hours a week. The industry was shocked. I wasn't. Now, I lead a powerhouse team of over 500 female solo agents nationwide, host retreats, create online courses, and sit proudly in the top 10 of my brokerage with over 85,000 agents. My mission? To help women like you scale your business, trust your intuition, and redefine what success looks like on your terms. So, if you're ready to play big, ditch the hustle culture, and build a business that fits your life, not the other way around, you're in the right place. Let's get into it. Welcome back to the Amy Gregory Show. We are going to jump into another Q&A episode because you guys had so many questions when I posted about it on Instagram. So let's jump into it. What is the best way to raise your average price point as a solo agent? So if this is something you want to do, there's a couple of different ways you can increase your price point, right? And I love this way. This is how you... I love that you're thinking about increasing your price point because it tells me that you are wanting to make more money without working more hours. So often inside of real estate, the advice is just sell more houses. And that's good to a point, but we sometimes want to sell better houses, right? Do better deals. So if you're looking to increase your price point, there's a couple of different ways you can do that. One, you can set open houses that are held by your brokerage in an increased price point, right? Number two, you can have a postcard farming technique where you are farming a specific neighborhood at your desired price point. That is a great way to do it. It does take a little bit of time. And in fact, every single one of these methods takes a little bit of time, just like most good things in life. It takes a little bit of time. So you could set open houses at an increased price point, have a postcard farming method where you are focused on one exact neighborhood. A lot of agents do postcards, but they literally do them all wrong. What they do is they say, okay, I have a listing over here, so I'm going to send postcards over here. And then I have a listing over here, so I'm going to send postcards over here. I have a buyer looking for something over here, so I'm going to send postcards over here. And it just really dilutes all of your efforts because one person getting one postcard, they're not going to do anything with it. Whereas if you focus in on like a certain neighborhood and a certain price point right where you want to be, and you send all of your postcards to this neighborhood, that means one person is getting 5, 6, 10, 20 postcards from you inside a year. And they're like, dang, I want to work with Amy, right? And that's how you start to take over neighborhoods, okay? The other way is to show that type of content on your social media of that price point, right? So you can drive through neighborhoods, show the home exteriors, show home interiors, and talk about like, what does $1 million buy you in Kansas City? What does $1 million buy you in Orlando, Florida? And then show that type of property on your social media, and in time you will increase your price point. Let's see. How do you handle the pressure to look like you're crushing it on social media, even when you're not? This is a really great question. And I've had this question, a variety of this question a lot of times. So I'm excited to talk a little bit about like, how do you look like you're crushing it on social media, even when you're not? We have to put this into context. So I want to be really clear. Making $100,000 selling real estate is not like, oh my gosh, you've built the best business on planet Earth. That's not what it is. That means I closed about $4 million in production, and you'll literally never see that business. Like if you go to a conference, you'll literally never see that business. Like, hey, look at Amy, she closed 4 million in production. Like, no one is actually impressed by that number, except for I was. Because if I look at it, I worked 10 hours a week and I got to live the life I wanted, and I made $100,000. And if you look at like, what does the average American, like what is their, like the average American, I think makes like $67,000 a year working full time. So if you do $100,000, even in full-time hours, you are well above average. I did $100,000 in 10 hours a week. And, that's kind of incredible. And that actually does change someone's life. It doesn't change the person's life who's making $1 million, but the person making $1 million is actually the majority or the minority. The vast majority of people are living paycheck to paycheck. And if you can come in and say, hey, I can help you do this, that is a big deal, right? So when you want to put things in context, and you can't be comparing yourself to like the outliers that are outperforming you. There's always going to be someone doing more for you, more than you. And so you really have to take what you're doing and really put it into the context of like the average American. The average American makes $67,000 a year working full-time hours. Okay, that means I actually am crushing it. Whether I'm on a real estate stage or not, inside my world, that's freaking phenomenal, right? The other thing is how do you handle the pressure to look like you're crushing it on social media even when you're not? I look at social media as my job. So whether I want to be on or not be on, I mean, like, I don't know. I'm sure sometimes the grocery clerk doesn't want to go to work, but they go to work. And they're dealing with stuff they don't want to deal with. And so does the guy that delivers your mail. And so does the physician that's operating on your heart, right? Like, he might be in a heart surgery with you, but that doesn't mean there isn't something maybe in his personal life that's weighing on him, you know? And so this idea of being like, oh, I need to feel like it, I just think that's like an excuse to not expect more of yourself. That's the expectation. And in our house, we always say, like, pressure is a privilege. And if there's pressure, that's because you are capable of doing it. And so when you have pressure on you, it also increases your capacity. And I always go back to a gym analogy, right? The only way to build muscle is to add resistance. And so if you're feeling pressure in your business, that just means you're growing. And so pressure is a privilege. And so you just have to change the way you shift it in your head. And I've shown up on social media when there's been a lot of things, quote unquote, going wrong. Part of running a business is that not everything is always going right. Not every deal closes. Not every deal sets a record. That's not reasonable. Michael Jordan missed more shots than he made. Okay, great. That doesn't mean he's still not one of the best of all time. So that's kind of how I frame it out. Hopefully that's helpful. What do you do when your friends and family don't take your business seriously? I don't know. I don't really care. Like, why do I care if my friends or family take me seriously? The reason they're probably not taking you seriously is because you're probably not taking yourself seriously. And when you stop caring whether or not they're taking you seriously, it communicates that you take yourself seriously enough that you don't need their approval. And the magic of building a business is like the most successful people are people that are like kind of trailblazers. And being a trailblazer means that you often see a trail that other people don't. That's part of being the trailblazer. And so they just don't see the trail. That's okay. You see it, so pursue it. I always say there's talkers, takers, and creators. The talkers love to talk about what everyone is doing. And you'll see this with agents especially. They love to talk about what everyone's doing. Oh my gosh, can you believe there's the Facebook groups? Oh my gosh, there's so many talkers inside real estate Facebook groups where it's like, oh my gosh, can we talk about listing agents taking 3.5% commission and only giving buyer's agents 2.5%? This has got to stop. And they just yap. And I'm like, why don't you just go figure out how to be the listing agent that takes 3.5% then? I don't know. Like, you have two options, right? So the talkers love to talk about what everyone is doing, and they want to tell you why it's not fair and what they would do if they were you and how you should do it better because they clearly know everything, right? And then there's takers. Takers are actually really successful inside of real estate because they're good at taking opportunities that they see. So they can recognize an opportunity, they take the opportunity, and they go. And so the takers take. The creators, however, create the opportunities that the takers take and that the talkers talk about. And it's lonely to be a creator because you're the one that sees the opportunity before the takers can take it and the talkers can talk about it. And so in that process, they're talking about you. Okay, great. You're over here creating the opportunity for them. So you just have to get over that. And I also think too, is you have to recognize that friends and family might not want to hire you right out of the gates. And that's a really fair position for them to have. Like, I don't want to hire like the heart surgeon that just like I'm his first patient, like outside of residency or whatever their thing is. No, I would love someone that has 5 or 10 years experience behind them, right? I don't care if you're my cousin's friend. I literally don't care. I'm not hiring you. And I think when it comes to friends and family, when it comes to real estate, I also think that they think that we're the lenders and we're going to see all of their financials in the transaction, which we really don't. And so they sometimes want to keep those things private. And I think that's a really fair position for them to have. And they're allowed to keep those things private. And let's be honest, real estate transactions can be emotional. And it's okay for them to want to work with someone that's like outside of the family. And it's probably because they value the relationship, not because they don't value the relationship. So you just have to be able to look at the coin from both sides and not get your feelings hurt. What do you say when a client wants to work with multiple agents or won't sign a buyer agreement? I say, see you later. I had a buyer recently reach out, and it was from a referral, and he was interested in a property that was like, let's say it was $2 million. And I said, absolutely, I'm happy to help you. I can go video tour it. I can FaceTime you, like however you want to do this. Like, this will be awesome. And then he told me, oh, by the way, I want you to negotiate like hundreds of thousands of dollars off the price of the home, which that's not unusual. We can have that conversation. But then the kicker was, he was like, so I said, okay, great. I'm going to send you over the buyer's agreement. And this is, it's going to be at a 3% rate or whatever your rate is. You can negotiate whatever rate you want. I'm using 3% as an example. And he said, oh, no. I just want to pay, like, I'll just pay you like a $10,000 like flat fee. And I was like, so you're telling me you want to hire an agent that is capable of negotiating hundreds of thousands of dollars off of the purchase price, but you want to hire an agent that can't negotiate their own commission? And I said, no, thanks. I said, I'm not interested in doing that deal. Like, what you're telling me you want is, like, you're telling me this is not an easy deal. You're letting me know off the bat, you're not an easy client and this is not an easy deal. And then you want to pay me like 10% of what I would normally earn on that type of transaction. No, and that's okay. It's fine that he doesn't value me. That's fine. I don't actually value him. He communicated to me. It's like dating. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't want to date you. Like, you've told me, it's like red flag, red flag. The biggest red flag clients are the ones that ask you to reduce your commission off the bat. Like, they always end up being the most high maintenance clients. And so I often am just like, if I'm not the right fit for you, that's totally fine. It's all good. And that is what I told him. I said, no, thanks. How do you avoid getting walked all over by clients, especially when you're trying to be nice? I've just learned I don't owe anyone anything. And frankly, no one owes me anything either. And so I don't owe anyone anything. And I can choose to work with someone I want to work with and say no thanks. And that's taken a little bit of time to develop. The other thing I've learned is not to take on other people's problems. So I was talking with a brand new agent last week, and she called me. She's like, oh my gosh, Amy, I'm so worried. I have these buyers. They're so excited. They're first-time home buyers. They're trying to figure out their down payment, and I just don't know where I don't know where they're going to get their down payment. They're just like rubbing two pennies together for a down payment. And should I do this and should I do that? And on it went for like 10 minutes. And I said, it's not actually your job to help them figure out their down payment. Your job is to help them purchase a property. It's their job to have their down payment ready. It's not my job to say, hey, why don't you go drive Uber for a couple of months and save up more money? My job is to tell you, This is how much the house costs. This is what we can negotiate on it. Now I can try and negotiate a deal that requires less of a down payment for you. Absolutely. But it's your job to come up with the down payment. So I've learned to separate myself. It's not my fault that the roof has a leak. It's not my fault that the buyer went and bought a car when we were under contract. It's not my fault that the buyer got divorced and now needs to cancel the contract. Like, while unfortunate, and I don't like having to break that news to my clients on the other side of the transaction, I don't need to take ownership of that. That's not my fault. My job is to problem solve whatever is thrown at us in the best interest of my clients. And so over the years, it's like developing a callus. You kind of just develop a callus to it. Let's see, what's the next question? How do you get past the fear of putting yourself out there online? I just believe in a God of miracles. So whatever fear there is, there's different fears that come into mind. I know people have said rude things to me. People have made fun of me. People have thought I was an idiot. I don't know. I just think what's more weird, me putting myself out there and trying to build something, or you sitting around the table with random people cackling about it or talking about it or being critical of it. Which person do you want to be in that scenario? And I would pick me. I would rather be me. I'd rather be the person that's out trying to do something as opposed to the person that's talking about what someone else is doing. And so I just kind of put my blinders on and I just act like I don't know, even if I sometimes do know. Let's see. How do you decide when it's time to invest in coaching tools or systems and when it's just shiny object syndrome? This really depends on your personality. I don't need a lot of hand holding. I don't need a lot of accountability check-ins. I don't need that. But there are some personalities that really need that. So you kind of have to know your personality type and understand what you need inside your business and then pursue that in order to know. But I will say every time I have paid for coaching, I've gotten my money's worth, because when you pay for something, you pay attention in a different way and you almost make sure you get your money's worth so that it's not a loss in your business. So I don't ever hesitate to pay for coaching, but that's also not true. I do. I'm very selective in the coaching that I pick up because I need it to give me results. And I think there's a lot of agents that spend a lot of time practicing, and they should spend more time in the game, right? So there's practice and there's being in the game, and you need to spend a little bit more time in the game if you want my honest opinion for a lot of agents. How do you deal with comparison, especially in such a visible industry like real estate? I just stay in my lane. I literally just stay in my lane. I've really learned to just not care what people think because, and for the most part, there's really not anyone that I'm like, oh yeah, I'd trade businesses with you. Every business has pain points, even if you don't see it from the outside looking in. I mean, now I the longer you build, the more you're like, oh, I can see those pain points. And anyone that's achieved any high level of success, they've sacrificed a lot, and there's been a burden, and there's been a price to pay, and there's the weight of the pressure of it all, and they've paid that price, and they deserve to have that win. And so I don't feel any sort of way about those that have built bigger than me. I just don't spend a lot of time comparing. I do spend a lot of time looking for evidence that if they can do it, so can I. And there's a difference there. And so I do spend time doing that and reverse engineering people's businesses and figuring out how they've hit those numbers and then saying, okay, you can hit those numbers, so can I. Here's how I'm going to do it. What are you most excited about with social media looking forward? This is a great question. One thing that I'm really excited about with Instagram is trial reels. I think they're very interesting. They're shown to a new audience, which just means you get to meet more people. So that's like being invited to a new friend's birthday party and you get to meet all 50 of their friends or however many people. And the more people you know, the bigger and better your business becomes. Real estate is a game of relationships. So the more relationships you can build, the better your business becomes. So I really like trial reels. I really like YouTube as a platform too. When you look at YouTube, it's fascinating to see a brand like Dude Perfect. They literally have like a larger subscriber base than like NBC, right? And so we're seeing a real shift in our media and how things are consumed and how the consumers are searching for things. Social media is less about a group of people all knowing the same people and more about a group of people all pursuing the same interests. And so the algorithm is shifting that way, which I think is a huge asset. I'm really excited about this podcast. It's a different form of social media for me. This is a new type of content for me. And so this excites me. I like it being longer form where I can explain my thoughts more from start to finish as opposed to like sound bites. The longer I am on social media and posting, the more I'm valuing like a longer story arc and understanding a more nuanced perspective to all of the things. What is your strategy for working smarter, not harder, especially as a mom? I think one of the things about men and women building a business, men tend to build like a really good spreadsheet business. So they tend to buy leads online, and then they'll have like an inside sales agent that calls all those leads and sets appointments for the agents. This is like a big local team model. And then the agents go and close those deals, and you have like the rainmaker kind of type agent at the top that is kind of running the overhead of it all. And it does work. I respect that business. And it shows up really well on a spreadsheet. You know, if I buy X amount of leads and make X amount of phone calls, I'll close X amount of deals, I'll make X amount of money. Women tend to build like more of a referral-based, community-driven business. And so working smarter and not harder, it goes more to like increasing your price point, decreasing your commute, getting more like in alignment with like the rhythm of your living. I remember being at an event one time and the speaker was talking, it was like in a Zoom meeting. So it was a conversational type situation. And he said something like, well, I don't know, like my deodorant just magically reappears in my bathroom when I run out. And I thought to myself, I'm like, well, yeah, I'm the person that is making that magically reappear for everyone inside my household. And I remember thinking, like, I've never had 8 hours to go to an office and work uninterrupted on my business. That's not been my reality. And I'm not complaining about that. I like being a mom. And me being a mom is actually my superpower. I always say, like, if you can negotiate with a 3-year-old to get their shoes on, you can negotiate a real estate transaction because, like, your 3-year-old is not going to negotiate reasonably. Usually inside a real estate transaction, they're negotiating reasonably. And if you can market to high school kids to behave a certain way, like you're good at marketing, you're good at like problem solving, and you understand the dynamics of home better than anyone. So I think moms actually have a really unfair advantage. They've just been told otherwise for a really, really long time. In fact, I had a friend. So if you're thinking about getting your real estate license, you should do it. You should 100% get your real estate license. Even if you just close 3 to 5 houses your first year, you'll take nicer vacations, or you'll be able to renovate your house a certain way, or buy a new car, or do some of those things. I honestly remember the first time I went and bought a car, it was like a white Suburban, you guys. It was not anything all that sexy. But I remember being like, oh my gosh, I just went and like we paid cash for it, and I got to like pick some of the things I wanted on it that were like upgrades, and I didn't always have to be practical. And I remember being like, that's so cool. I just did that. And it was a really good feeling. And so I had a mom friend that, 2 years after I got my license, went to lunch with me, and she's like, do you think I can do this? And I was like, absolutely. And this was probably 4 years ago. And last year she made over $500,000 selling real estate. And I just think that a lot of moms have been told that like this business is too cutthroat, or they're gonna have to miss every ball game. And it's really just not true. You just need to be in the right room. And that's what Powerhouse is all about, is helping that female solo agent see a path to the top of the mountain that she likes, right? So I love this analogy of being at the top of the mountain. And if you look at getting to the top of the mountain, when you're at the top, you can actually see that there's 100 different ways you can get to the top. So you can build like a business like our male counterparts do of buying leads and cold calling them, that does work. But there's also this other path over here, right? And when we're at the top of the mountain, we can easily throw you a rope and we can and guide you up to the top of the mountain. And that's really what we do inside of Powerhouse. So if you're a female solo agent and you're wondering like, am I in the right room? You might want to consider Powerhouse. Our goal is to help female solo agents go from behaving like employees to actually running businesses. We're not going to tell you to work more hours. We're going to help you make the same amount of money working the same amount of hours or less is really the goal. We want to teach you how to be a CEO inside of your business. If you're interested in that, click the link below, schedule a phone call with me. Hopefully this has been helpful to you. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Amy Gregory, and this is the Amy Gregory Show. We'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in to The Amy Gregory Show. If today's episode gave you that I needed this feeling, go ahead and hit subscribe so you never miss a pep talk when you need it most. And hey, if you're ready to scale your business without the burnout, I've got you. Head over to @AmyGregory on Instagram to connect, grab free resources, or join my community of powerhouse women who are redefining real estate success. Until next time, trust your gut, take up space, and remember, you're just one bold move away from your next breakthrough.